Oh, technology. Yeah, there's on my preview computer. There's weird behavior with YouTube, and I'm not quite sure what's going on. But hi, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, and that was Positive and Negative Electrical Science. It was a silent film. Came from the Mogul Brothers collection, which was then part of the Oregon Archive. So some of you who joined me yesterday saw me unboxing a gift from the homeschool kids, and it was a... Where is my finger? Right there. A diorama. And what I didn't notice until I brought it home and showed it to Katrina was that it actually was designed to fill the gap left by the Clown Thanksgiving painting being given to the Found Footage Festival. And in the diorama is actually a little diorama positioned where I positioned it. It's a little bit off, but anyways, so I love that because it's recursive, that there's I'm doing a stream that has a diorama of a stream that has a diorama of a stream, into infinity. That's what I like to imagine in my head. So anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically there's some kids who watch this show for lunch, and they're homeschooled. And somebody, maybe a teacher or proctor or facilitator, has helped them kind of realize these dreams of, doing these awesome things for us. And it made me a little misty-eyed yesterday. It was really fascinating. So anyways, it is up there now. Thank you, kids, for that. All right. The whole state's talking. Are you listening?
I hear they plan to run a railroad clean across the state. Of course, I don't know that the darn thing will ever amount to much. Railroads.
Maybe with this system of railroads we can free ourselves, not be so dependent on our neighbors. Yes, we can progress.
John Moorhead says the trains will ride the track even in wet weather. Even when the roads are bad. Looks like they'd slip off, don't it?
Well, I say it's going to work wonders. Then you know who's doing it? Well, he's called Moorhead. So that means he's got something to do with Scotland. And that means it's going to get done.
Yes, a century ago, the whole state of North Carolina was talking about railroads and about the man who thought North Carolina ought to go forward with this new steam invention. That man was Governor John Motley Moorhead. This model locomotive may be called a symbol of John Motley Moorhead, but it is not a symbol of all that he did. Governor Moorhead was for 38 years a trustee of the University of North Carolina. He organized the Alumni Association and was its first president. He was a reformer of the state constitution, chairman of the National Whig Convention, friend of religious dissenters, champion of equal representation of the people, spokesman for gradual emancipation of the slaves and of the right of free Negroes to vote. He was a planter, builder of railroads, mills, factories, promoter of highways, founder of Moorhead City. He was a prophetic idealist, a practical agricultural, industrial, and political statesman. In its article about the first locomotive ever to arrive in the capital city, the Raleigh Register, which I have before me, had this to say: magnificent enterprise. We have now actual demonstration of that which no man would have believed 30 years ago to be within the compass of human power. Truly has it been said that the last few years have unfolded more that is novel, vast, and wonderful than the whole 18 centuries of the Christian era. That's the end of the quotation. This, I say, is a symbol of a great statesman, that the people were talking about a century ago. His ancestor, by the way, was Agnes Moorehead, the mother of James Watt, the inventor of the steam engine. That is the symbol of another John Motley Moorehead, grandson of the governor, a man of our century, about whom the whole state of North Carolina is talking with reverence because he has made to us reverent gifts. The Moorehead Building, the planetarium, art gallery, and scientific exhibits are, in real and proper terms, types of prayers made of brick and steel and lenses and lights, to be sure, but they are not tied to the things of this earth. The Moorhead-Patterson Bell Tower also lifts our spirits to the music of the spheres. The Moorhead Scholarships, perhaps 400 full-time scholarships to the university in a given school year, are dedicated to the youth and future leaders of our state. This is the John Motley Moorehead of our century, who lives in another day of magnificent enterprise, who lives in a time of great expansion in communications, just as did Governor Moorehead. And of these present-day expanses, the most challenging and potentially the most rewarding is television, the greatest aid to education since the invention of the printing press.
There you are, sir. And just in time, too.
In time for what?
For Dr. Boyd. He should be starting his daily Bible class on the UNC television station.
Didn't know they had a Bible in Chapel Hill.
Well, they do. And this guy Boyd can really explain it, so a fellow like me can understand it. Come on, sit down and watch. Don't worry, I won't charge you for the extra time. This is a pleasure.
I tell you, Helen, if someone had told me when I was in high school that I'd be looking forward each afternoon to listen to some professor from Women's College lecture on Charles Dickens, I would have thought him crazy.
Oh, I don't know. Thanks to television, a lot of us are finding out that learning can be fun. Take George, for example. Used to, when I turned the television set to an educational station to watch a demonstration on home economics or a lecture on history or art or even a concert by the Women's College Glee Club, George would get up and leave the room. You know, go out back and work in the yard or try to find something to do around the house or someone to visit with for a while. But the other evening, we finished dinner later than usual. And while I was washing dishes, George got up and turned on the TV set. This time, he picked the station. And you know what program he chose? A program on the process of osmosis in the Northwest New Hampshire birch tree.
I thought I was a pretty good tobacco topper till I saw this TV show from State College last week. You see it?
No, but my neighbors told me about it.
Well, this stuff is money in the farmer's pockets. You can't afford to miss it.
Don't intend to miss it anymore. I cut out the whole TV schedule. Gonna do it every week. Soil and water conservation, building and dairy herd, farm machinery repairs, chicken feed ain't hay, getting the most out of a 20-acre farm, improving pasture and forage crop, and a new weevil threatens. And I'll be in front of my TV when school takes in.
I sure do wish you were well enough to get up and around a little more, Uncle Jim. I saw the Star of Bethlehem show at the planetarium in Chapel Hill last night, my wife and I, and it was out of this world.
I'm afraid I'm not going to get to Chapel Hill anytime soon. But you know that eclipse they had on the other night? Well, I wouldn't have known what that was all about if it hadn't been for that television program from the planetarium. I propped up here in bed, looked out the window and could see the moon. They put a television set down here. I looked out there and saw the eclipse of the moon, and then looked at the television set and saw the explanation and the diagrams, and it was just like having an astronomer right here in the room with me explaining it to me.
My wife and I saw that show, too. That probably helped a lot of people.
It was great. Well, what was really great was that program they had on heart disease last night. If I'd seen that 5 years ago or even 1 year ago, I wouldn't be in this bed right now.
Say, did you see this book about those Moorhead scholarships?
No, I haven't seen any book. But the other night I saw a TV show about those scholarships, and they're really worth shooting for.
John Motley Moorhead. Well, that's the old jigger who gave North Carolina all this television we're getting.
President Gordon Gray has written this about the Moorhead family. No North Carolina family ever dreamed greater dreams for North Carolina than the 6 generations of Moorheads that have lived in the state over a century and a half. And few families have done so much to make their dreams come true. His gift, with his cousin Rufus Lenore Patterson of the Bell Tower, adds to the beauty and music of Chapel Hill. The Moorhead Planetarium has brought the stars down to the people of North Carolina. The Moorhead scholarships, searching out our most promising youth and sending them to the university where they may develop into the future leaders of our state and nation, will help lift our people to the stars. And now, this other gift, educational television, which will reach into the homes of North Carolinians with knowledge, ideas, and reports vital to accelerated progress. Now, this gift of educational television, which will take the consolidated university to the people, which will accomplish in unifying and freeing the minds of our people and stimulating our actions what the coming of the railroads achieved in freeing and stimulating our commerce and total progress. And so, a newspaper editor today might say of the work of our present day, John Motley Moorhead, exactly what a newspaper of 100 years ago said of the John Motley Moorhead of that day. Magnificent enterprise. We have now actual demonstration of that which no man would have believed 30 years ago to be within the compass of human power. Truly has it been said that the last few years have unfolded more that is novel, vast, and wonderful than the whole 19 centuries of the Christian era. And what may be said in the future is for the next generation to know and to say. Just how can it help saying, looking back, that here is a family which has always looked forward, that here is a name which for 6 generations has stood in this state for vision and has seen the needs of the people and generously stepped forward to lead in meeting those needs, and which will serve also down through the years that brightest star of all.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's about North Carolina Public Television, which is still exists, has mutated in a couple of different ways. Some great, some not so great. Mostly because it's not really being funded. And that crack about I didn't know that Chapel Hill had a Bible is a long time view of Chapel Hill as a little enclave of liberal commies that even predates, I think, Jesse Helms. Jesse Helms hated Chapel Hill and talked about like putting a big barricade around it. But I think that for a long time, and it's actually playing out in a horrible way now politically, because the Board of Governors, a lot of conservatives are on there, and they are eviscerating Chapel Hill. And also there was a statue commemorating a Confederate soldier that was torn down by the students. So, and it was only like erected like in the 50s or something like that. It was just, anyways. So yeah, Chapel Hill, and they mentioned State College. State College is where I went to school. That's what became North Carolina State University, the Cal College. All right, what do we got for you? We have a film on the scanner behind me, and everyone's a winner. Enjoy.
This will give all of you some ideas of what I mean by flexibility, balance, and agility. Jonathan, will you turn the lights on, please?
Is that all part of the test?
No, Jonathan, it isn't. Kim?
But you said that we were going to be tested on our physical fitness.
That's right, I did. And the physical performance test will help us to find out about some of the aspects of fitness that we saw in the film.
What if we can't pass the test?
You can't pass or fail these tests, Jonathan. But your scores will help the teachers to gauge how well our physical education program is meeting the needs of our students. Diana?
How will they do that?
We'll gather all of the information and see where you may be the strongest or where you may have problems and adjust the overall program to fit those needs. Diana?
What's on the test?
There will be 2 test events that we will score, the side step and the standing long jump. Tomorrow we can start with some basic exercises that will help us get ready for the tests.
I still don't like it. I don't care what Mr. Petty says. A test is still a test, right? But he told us that everyone's a winner in the physical performance test. You only have to compete against yourself. I still wonder if I'll pass.
You here for the test, young fella?
I guess so.
That is excellent. It is a very simple test. I am sure that you will have no problems.
That's good. I'm not very athletic.
No excuses now. Do you know that most people never reach their maximum potential of physical performance? Do you know that everyone can improve their physical performance through exercise? Do you?
Well, Mr. Petty says.
Never mind. You are probably one of those people who think that you don't ever use the qualities of physical performance except in PE class, aren't you?
Well, I guess.
What about bowling, skating, bike riding, surfing, swimming, dancing? I could go on and on.
I never thought.
Not many young people do. They take their bodies for granted. They don't even think about exercise. Never mind. It's time for the test.
Okay, if you'd all form around this square over here. We are going to do the side step test now. And Alonzo is going to demonstrate, and I'll try to explain what you must do. Alonzo is moving by side-stepping or sliding both feet to the left of the center line until the left foot touches or crosses a line on the left. This scores 1 point. He then slides to the right across the center line, and when his left foot touches in the area to the right of the center line, he has scored 2 points. He continues stepping to the right until his right foot touches or passes the right-hand line, and he has scored 3 points. You continue back and forth as rapidly as possible for 10 seconds. Okay, Jonathan, you be Alonzo's buddy and count for him while I time him with the stopwatch. Ready? Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Stop.
15. Boy, I hope I can do that good.
It's time for our warm-up exercises. Okay, we're going to do 10 jumping jacks. Ready? Begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold it. It's very important to start off slowly until your body has loosened up. Feel how flexible your body can be? I think you're going to find out that the qualities of physical performance will overlap one another. All right, choose a buddy and practice while we start. Michelle, you take the stopwatch and be the timer. Remember, only 10 seconds. Go with your buddy. Here is a chart that shows the percentiles of other children doing the side step. You know what your score was, so you can easily see where you stand. The average for boys and girls your age is 15.
What if we didn't score that high?
That just means that we'll have to work on some certain exercises that are designed to improve your physical performance in the side step.
You mean balance and agility? And coordination? And flexibility?
I still don't understand why we test the side step. We only do those things in PE class.
All right, who can answer that? Jonathan?
Well, there are a lot of things that we do that take balance.
Like what?
Like riding a bike. Or riding a skateboard. That takes balance and coordination. That takes agility and flexibility, too.
Your body flexibility, agility, balance, and coordination is used in everything from soccer to surfing to dancing. Now, in order to test your leg strength and power, we'll prepare for the
standing long jump coming up. And you think you're great because you got through the side step. Aren't you scared anymore?
Why should I be scared?
You're going to be tested against all of the kids in your class. You're no super athlete. you're sure to fail.
You're missing the whole point of the test, sir. The only one I competed against is myself.
Not much competition, is it?
I know I'm not the greatest athlete in the world,
You're not kidding.
but the more I exercise and practice, the better I'm getting. And you know something? I feel better, too.
You'll never be in the Olympics. I hope you know that.
Probably not, but I feel very good just
Exercising your body and doing as well as you can. We can measure leg strength and power with the standing long jump. Power is the ability to quickly release a great amount of force. It's a combination of muscular strength and speed. We'll use the buddy system again for the standing long jump. You'll get 3 jumps and we'll count only your best or longest jump. Vidal will demonstrate the correct jump. Remember, you have to keep your toes behind the takeoff line. You can swing your arms back and forth and bend your knees as long as your feet do not leave the ground until the jump is made. Hold it, Vidal. Your buddy Albert will have to measure from where your hands touch the mat. We measure from the takeoff line to the nearest point of body contact. Don't hop. Both feet must be on the mat when you jump. That's fine, Vidal. Now one more good jump and Albert can change places with you. In order to participate in sports and other physical endeavors, you must be fit. You should get fit to play safely. This chart shows what other students are doing in the standing long jump. You see that the average for boys your age is somewhere around the middle 60s, and for girls is around the lower 60s.
What if we were lower than that?
That's what we're going to work on now.
Can we improve our leg strength and power?
Yes, Francis. There are many activities and exercises for improving your leg strength and power. Squat jumps and knee bends help, as does rope jumping and leapfrog. Another component of your physical performance is speed, and this takes leg strength and power. Well, we all worked very hard preparing for and taking the test, and we have learned quite a bit about what it takes to be able to operate at peak
Physical performance, big deal. You'll forget it as soon as school's out.
No, I won't, because I learned about all the other places besides school where peak physical performance is important.
Taking that soundtrack, man. That was great. 70s. Waka, 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 waka. All right. Let's learn how to predict the weather. Enjoy.
What kind of weather is coming? You've probably asked yourself that question many times. Have you ever tried to predict the weather? Perhaps your grandparents can remember when people depended on weather sayings to help them predict the weather. From experience, they had learned that a ring around the sun or moon usually meant that rain is coming soon. They also relied on the old rhyme, "Rainbow in the morning, sailor, take warning." But weather sayings didn't explain why weather changes took place. We know that weather changes may happen within a few hours or a day or two. To help us try to predict the weather, we're going to make use of weather facts about clouds, winds, and air pressure. Let's think first about air pressure. Air pressure is caused by the weight of the air above you. We measure air pressure with this kind of instrument, called a barometer. We can show how this barometer works by looking inside it. Here is the inside of the barometer. Under the pointer, we can see the metal bellows. As the air pressure changes, it pushes on the bellows with more or less force. This makes the pointer move, showing the air pressure on a dial. Now let's do an experiment to show how a barometer indicates air pressure. By pumping air into this jar, we can increase the air pressure in it. Air is blowing out of this tube. As the air pressure increases in the jar, the pointer on the barometer moves to the right. Now the pump is drawing air into the tube so that we can take air out of the jar. The air pressure inside the jar is going down. The pointer moves to the left when the air pressure is falling. Here is another type of barometer that draws a graph of changing air pressure. Let's see the graph this barometer made during a change in weather that took several hours. This graph shows that the air pressure dropped and then rose again. The sky was clear when the pressure was highest, and the day was cool. But dark clouds appeared in the sky about the same time that the air pressure began to drop. It was quite low just before rain began to fall. But shortly before the rain ended, the air pressure began to rise. A rising barometer usually indicates that skies will soon be clearing. Because the air pressure is not rising as high as it was before, this is a sign that warm air is replacing the cool air. Warm air weighs less than cool air, and so exerts less pressure. So you can see how observing changes in air pressure can help you predict the weather. Now let's see how winds help us predict the weather. Cold winds often come from the north. As this air moves south, it brings cold weather, and often snow or rain. Because air is usually warm that comes from the tropical regions of the south, winds from the south often bring warm weather, especially in summer. When warm, moist air meets cool air, clouds will form and rain may fall. When one kind of air is in contact with another kind of air and replacing it, the wind may change direction over a period of a few hours. When such changes occur, you can suspect that a storm is on its way. Winds indicate many things about weather to come. Now let's see how clouds can help you predict tomorrow's weather. These high, curly clouds are called cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds are made of ice crystals and are about 4 to 8 miles above you. Lower clouds that form in layers are called stratus clouds. Stratus clouds are formed when moisture in a whole layer of air changes into clouds. These heaped up clouds that look like puffy rolls of cotton are cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds form when air currents rise rapidly and cool by expansion. Then the moisture in them changes into clouds. If more and more moisture gathers in the white cumulus clouds, they may grow into large, dark cumulonimbus clouds that are sometimes called thunderheads. These towering clouds can bring severe thunderstorms. This rain is falling from a nimbostratus cloud above this town. It is a type of stratus cloud in which more and more moisture gathered until it began falling out as rain. Nimbostratus clouds and cumulonimbus clouds are rain clouds. Recognizing the different types of clouds can also help you predict the weather. This is because clouds usually go over us in a certain order when certain kinds of weather changes are taking place. For example, suppose where you are, the weather is cool, but warm air is pushing away the cool air. What kinds of clouds would you expect to see? Suppose you were right here, looking up at the clouds passing by. First, you would see feathery cirrus clouds over you. Next come cirrostratus clouds. These are high, thin clouds made of ice crystals. They are the clouds that produce the ring around the moon and sun. As the air keeps moving over you, you see lower stratus clouds, and soon a light rain might begin to fall. Usually, nimbostratus clouds come overhead next. It is from these nimbostratus clouds that heavy rains can fall. When the rain is over, you can expect fluffy cumulus clouds to appear soon, as air is heated by the ground and air currents rise and cool. Now the warmer air has pushed away the cooler air. Let's see what the order of clouds is when dry, cool air pushes aside moist, warm air. Again, where the two kinds of air meet, clouds have formed. As the warm air is pushed aside by the cooler air, first you see feathery cirrus clouds. You can't tell whether warmer or cooler weather is coming yet. But when you next see the high cumulus clouds and then the towering thunderheads, you know that cool air is pushing aside the warm air. The thunderheads, cumulonimbus clouds, can be expected to bring heavy rains and thunderstorms. When the clouds pass by and the rain is over, fluffy cumulus clouds appear again. Now the weather is cooler because cool air has pushed away all the warmer air. Now, by putting together what you know of clouds, winds, and air pressure, you can try to predict the weather. Suppose the day is fair, with a few low cumulus clouds in the sky. The wind is from the northwest. Air from that direction is usually dry and cool. The barometer is steady, or perhaps rising. With these conditions, you can predict that fair weather will continue. Suppose on a warm day you see high clouds far to the northwest, slowly moving toward you. And they are cumulus clouds, the kind that form when cool air replaces warm air. The wind where you are is blowing from the southwest. This is almost opposite to the direction of the cloud movement. Remember, winds change direction when one kind of air meets and replaces another. You notice the barometer is falling, a sign that a storm is coming. Now you can predict that it is probably going to rain as the cool air from the north meets and replaces the warm, moist air from the south. In this way, you can try to predict the weather. Then it might be fun to compare your prediction with predictions that are made at the Weather Bureau by meteorologists who study the weather. Although there are many factors that affect the weather, you will find that the more you know and understand about changing air pressure, winds, and clouds, the better you will be able to predict the weather.
That was great. What's funny is that we misread the label, and so the name of the file is "How Let's Learn to Protect the Weather," which seems a little bit more relevant. Okay, got one more film for you, and we're gonna call it. This is the end of the semester for a lot of college students, including my interns, and they have to write papers. So this is a handy guide to writing a report by our good friends at Coronet. Enjoy.
Have you ever seen a newt? Ted caught one in the pond near his home and brought it to class. No one in the class seemed to know very much about newts. Miss Clark thought it would help everyone in the class if Ted would write a report on how newts live while they kept the newt in the class aquarium. Ted didn't know very much about newts, but he knew something about writing a report. The class had been studying report writing only a week ago. Everyone had learned the 4 steps for writing a good report. Choose a subject, gather information, organize the information, and write the report. The first step is choosing a subject. Ted already had his subject. He was going to write about the newt. Writing about all animals that live in water would be too much information for anyone to include in one report. But the newt was not too big a subject. After choosing a subject, the next step is to gather information. In the afternoon, during the class study period, Ted began gathering information for his report. First, he looked at the encyclopedias. Ted selected the volume labeled N to O. Starting with the encyclopedia is a good way to begin gathering information. Ted soon found the article on the newt. From the picture, Ted learned that the newt he had caught was called a red-spotted newt. As Ted read the article, he knew that he wouldn't be able to remember all the facts he learned. He didn't want to copy all the information from the encyclopedia. So, as you've probably done, Ted took notes on what he read. At the top of his note card, Ted wrote the name of the encyclopedia and underlined it. Then he wrote the volume and page number his information came from. On his note card, Ted also wrote certain phrases such as related to salamanders and other short phrases to remind him of the important facts he had read. Now Ted had some idea of what he would put in his report. But the encyclopedia is only one source of information. It's always helpful to look for information in other books, too. After school, Ted went to the library, where he knew he could find information on almost any subject. First, Ted looked in the card catalog. He knew that all the books in the library were listed here. Since the cards are in alphabetical order, Ted looked under N for his subject, newt. The card for newt said, sea salamander. He had already learned from the encyclopedia that newts are a kind of salamander, so he looked under S. Under the subject heading salamander, Ted found books that might contain information on newts. In the upper left-hand corner, the call number on each card told Ted where to look on the shelf. Ted found several books he thought he could use. As Ted looked in each book, he checked the table of contents. Here, the chapter headings listed the main topics in the book. At the back of the book, he looked in the index to locate his particular subject. Newts were on pages 40 and 41. Ted made notes of the important facts he found in each book. At the top of each note card, Ted wrote the name of the author. He underlined the title of the book, and then wrote the page his information came from. Ted included many facts in his notes. He decided to copy one interesting fact exactly as it was written. Of course, he used quotation marks. After making his notes for the report, Ted thought of something. He remembered that when he wrote a report about the post office, he had talked to Mr. Moran, the postmaster, who was very helpful. Ted decided to talk to someone who would know about newts. So he went to see Mr. Kane, the director of the museum near the forest preserve where he had found the newt. Ted asked Mr. Kane if it were true that newts leave the water to live on land for a while. Mr. Kane said he could answer this by showing Ted something in the museum. It was a terrarium. In it were newts that had left the water and were living on land. Mr. Kane pointed out that on land, these newts changed to a reddish color, not like the one that Ted had caught in the pond. Mr. Kane told Ted several things about newts that he had not found in his books, and Ted took careful notes. That night, Ted looked over all the information he had collected. The next step in writing a report is to organize the information into an outline. Ted's main topics were a common animal, born in water, its life on land, returns to water, good aquarium pets. Under each main topic, Ted wrote subtopics. In each subtopic, Ted included facts about the main topic. He checked his notes to be sure he put all his facts down accurately. Some of his facts did not fit into the outline, and he didn't use these for his report. When Ted had finished his outline, he checked it to see that the facts he had listed under each main topic belonged to that topic. Later that evening, Ted was ready for the last step, to write the report. As he wrote his report, he followed the outline closely, so his facts would all be in proper order. He used a topic sentence for each paragraph. Near the end, Ted put in the quotation from his notes. He also made a footnote showing from which book the quotation had come. When he had finished, Ted checked his report to see if he had made any mistakes in spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Then he was ready to hand in his report. The next morning, Ted brought his report to Miss Clark, and she asked him to read it to the class. Ted felt sure of himself because he knew his material thoroughly. And he felt sure that the class understood his report because it was well organized. And Miss Clark was pleased because his report followed his outline point by point. Organizing the information into a good outline is one of the most important steps in writing a report. Do you remember the 4 steps Ted used in writing his report? These 4 steps can help you, too, when you write your next report.
Loves to make a list, and I like that the last item in the list was just write the report. I thought that's what the film was about. All right, thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy, for donating. He donated via the super thanks option in the YouTube chat. You can also support us by buying us coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. We will also take dioramas of ourselves in payment. But if you like what you saw, thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification, all those weird little things. What else? Yeah, like on the 23rd of December, we're going to do our 1,000th show. It will actually be probably more than our 1,000th show, but 1,000th show is going to be during the week, and we want to celebrate on a Saturday, so we can do a 1,000-minute show. That's basically almost 17 hours worth of content, starting in the morning and going until probably 2 or 3 in the morning. Yeah, join us. Special guests, lots of stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. But thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will see you very, 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 very soon. Goodbye. Have a great weekend.